Hey everybody, welcome to this month's book club. I feel like I'm in a revolving theme here, and I think all of the authors were kind of reading the same research because I feel like all of the stuff that I read lately had a lot of the same messages, but I loved this book. And I was thinking like, well, if I didn't love the book, we wouldn't be having a book club, but I still want to say it. I loved this book. I love Daniel Pink. He's just really funny. There were a lot of times when I was just laughing hysterically at his humor. So I would highly recommend this book. Hi, I'm Chris Gra with Organizing Maniacs, and we are a professional organizing company in the GC metro area where we specialize in working with clients with brain-based challenges. So the majority of our clients have ADD, ADHD, OCD, and hoarding tendencies. However, we have plenty of clients. They're just a little messy and don't have enough time. So I wanted to say that I write a monthly report. If you are interested in getting that, you can go on our website and we send this directly into your inbox, included with our video book club. And this month we are talking about Daniel Pink, When, which is climbing as my top 4 favorite books of all time. So I want to share a little bit of my insights with you from this book. A lot of the times my clients are asking, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I be more organized? Why can't I get stuff accomplished? And one really big takeaway from this book, it is the title of the book, When, he says that the better question you should be asking is, when are you doing something? So the whole book talked about timing, and timing is extremely important, especially because we have already talked about this in the past, and I've become a huge fanatic of chronotypes, which is the study of understanding your body clocks and your body energy. And there's a lot of research being done that has shown that we are not all alike, and that we have to honor our body clocks in order to be more productive. So he totally touched upon that, and in his research he simplified it, and he established there are 2 types of people. So larks are morning people, and they have mostly been born in the fall and winter. And a second chronotype he talks about are owls, and they tend to be night owls, and they were born mostly in the spring and summer. I took a little poll on my Facebook, and I received over 100 responses. And I have to say that the numbers were a little bit skewed. However, the majority of the people, about 60% of the people that replied back with their, either agreeing or disagreeing with that statement, were in the favorites. So they were either born in the fall and winter and they were early risers, or they were born in the spring and summer and they were night owls. The other 40% of the people was completely opposite. So I don't know what that does to the statistics, but it just seemed like in the book he says the majority of people. So I guess that is correct. So the question we should be asking is, when are we doing something better than what am I doing? Because you may have all of the tools that you already need to have good systems, but because you are trying to do them when your brain is not optimal, it means you are not going to succeed at it. So if you have no more time to understand any of this or read the book, the question you should be asking yourself is is your schedule laid out in a way that it honors your chronotype and that it honors your energy, right? If you are a night owl and you like to be productive and do things that, if your brain finally wakes up at 7 p.m., you should honor that and figure out a way to accommodate for that in your family style, so you are doing work at your most optimal. Maybe you can go to work late and spend time with your family in the morning instead of having dinner with them. So how can you accommodate for that? So that was one really big takeaway from that. And I did another book club on the power of when, which also talks about chronotypes. There's an extensive quiz that you can take to figure out where your chronotype is. I'm going to link Daniel Pink's chronotype quiz as well. So if you want to try to figure out if you are a morning person or an afternoon person, if you don't already know, there's a quiz that can help you with that. However, we all intuitively know how our body clock works. And there was a lot of people that answered, they're like, well, you know, I have children and there are all kinds of circumstances. But the real question is, if you lived in the perfect world, how would your body operate, right? And I think that is the thing that we have to honor about our body clocks. It's not the circumstances under we live in, but how would we operate if we lived in the perfect world? And how can we accommodate for the perfect world within the world we have to live in? So a couple of things that he talked about that I thought was pretty cool is that we think of timing as an art, you know, like we just kind of let the world figure itself out. And there's real science behind timing. And I thought it was really fascinating how he talked about that. I am a time management freak. And my friends, they call me out on this all the time. You know, I'll be making plans with people and I say like, okay, in order to have lunch at, 11:30, these are all the things that have to happen for us to be there on time. But that's just how my brain operates and I honor that. So I feel like timing to me is a science. However, there are lots of things that I never thought about that timing, needs to be considered. He also talked about how everything we do has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that we all get stuck in the middle. And then he started citing all kinds of things that people do, small and big, where we get stuck in the middle. And the real trick to finishing something is to managing the middle part of it, right? I have read several books. There are people that call it the dip. There are all kinds of ways to think about it. But if we can manage the middle section of any project we have, we are so much more likely to finish it. You know, he talked about the whole science of that. He talked about, not finishing something completely, which is something that we talked about in the last book club that we had, Rest, where he talked about like finish something halfway and then tomorrow when you start it, your brain will kind of pick it up from where you left off, instead of like obsessing about doing something all the way to the end and then tomorrow wondering like, oh, where do I start now, right? Your brain kind of remembers where you are. So managing the middle is extremely important to any project, and we all do that differently, but I'm just creating awareness here. There were lots of strategy in the book about that. One really cool thing that I never thought about that I learned in this book is that lunch is actually the most important meal of the day. I used to think breakfast was the most important meal of the day, but that's really not. I talked about like when we don't eat lunch, our energies tend to dip. And once again, that doesn't make you productive in the afternoon, and then you don't think to get anything accomplished. So it causes all kinds of issues. And we always, a lot of people, I am complete neglectful of lunch. I sometimes eat lunch. If I'm at work with a client, I eat lunch on time. But if I'm working from home, which I kind of split my time now, I totally don't think about lunch until it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And that's right about the time where I want to take a nap. So there were a couple of principles that really stood out for me in this book, and a couple of them are a little repetitious, but in projects, in the beginning of anything, we are super excited about it, right? We are starting something, we have made a commitment to it, and now we're gonna do something, and there's all the novelty that comes with starting something, and then guess what? Then we get to the middle, and then we fizzle out. So if we learn to manage the middle part of projects or of anything, we can certainly learn how to finish it. He talked about managing your energy in the middle of the day, which is also, it's the middle of a project, right? You get to work in the morning, you want to manage the afternoon, and then you want to leave happy. He talked about how endings tend to be super energizing, and who doesn't like finishing any projects, right? I organize for a living. The best part of the day for me is like when we wrap up the project and everything looks amazing and everything is labeled and everything is in place. But guess what? I always say we have a 2 o'clock, don't tell everybody, but I always say we have a 2 o'clock panic attack. So whenever we work with clients, whatever that, it's kind of like, it's not quite the middle, but it's like towards the end of part of it when we start looking around and we're like, oh my God, are we really gonna finish this? And then, it's always awesome when we're working in teams because somebody will have that moment of panic and then somebody else will be like, chill out, we got this. And then of course we 99% of the time finish the project and everything goes smoothly. But there's always that moment of anxiety when we're like, what are we doing? What have we signed up for? Everything is all over the place. We're not going to make it, right? So it's kind of the same feeling whenever you're working on a project. But when we get towards the end, there's like the reward, this immediate gratification. You can see what you accomplished. You feel super happy. And then it's like, okay, give me another challenge. So learning to manage the middle, the most important part of any project. He says everything has a natural progression, which is kind of the same thing of like the beginning, the middle, and the end, but he calls it a peak, a trough, and a rebound. I really hated that word, so I'm not using it again. I think I'm gonna call it a dip. And he reminded us that during our peak productive hours, we do our best work that requires sharpness, vigilance, and focus, which we already knew that. And during our recovery hours, which they'll be completely opposite of your productive hours, you do your best work that requires inhibition and resolve. And that's the time when you can let your brain wander, right? You're like in least resistance. You can solve problems, you can think differently. And I think in the last book, Rest, I talked about how throughout history, all of the people that have accomplished significant things, at least the ones that he cited in the book, which were hundreds, they all have had a moment of, restfulness, of napping, or honoring their body's chronotypes, where they allowed themselves to just think and just be one with their thoughts and just be one without being super productive, right? And that's when they had the most significant breakthroughs in their research and their work and their writing, and you fill in the blank. So those are my things that I really, really loved about the book that I thought it was worth mentioning. And here I want to give you some applicable strategies, because I feel like book club wouldn't be book club unless you woke up tomorrow and there was something for you to do with it. Because I always reading books and then I'm like, okay, this was great information, but what do I do with that, right? So here's some applicable strategies for you. And I would say just pick one and try that one out and see how that works. Lunch is the most important time of the day. So if you don't have lunch and you feel like you find yourself sluggish in the afternoon, I challenge you to figure out a way to have lunch every single day. Try for 5 days and see how that works out for you and your afternoons. Research shows that people that actually take a break, leave their desks, go outside or look at trees or look at some greenery, are much more productive in the afternoon. So try to combining that with having lunch and see how that increases your productivity. And send me an email, a text, a Facebook Messenger or something, and just let me know how that's working for you, because I love to hear how people are using these strategies. Naps, he talks about naps. He says naps are the Zambonis of our brains. I love that. It's super funny. They tend to boost short-term memory as well as associative memories. Naps also improve overall health and strengthen our immune system. Naps need to be 10 to 20 minutes. We already knew that from the book Rest. And he suggested drinking some caffeine before you take a nap. And when you wake up, the caffeine will kick in, and he called that a nappuccino. Once again, super funny guy. So instead of asking, what am I doing wrong? Suggested asking, when am I doing this, and am I doing this at the wrong time, right? Just create awareness, not about your strategy and your technique or how you're doing something, but what time of the day should you be doing that thing, and are you doing that at the time when you should be doing it? Because your brain is the most important thing to consider when you're doing a task. He talked about using temporal landmarks, and temporal landmarks are just kind of I like to think of them as landmarks into the universe. And we wake up every year on January 1st, right? And we have a long list of resolutions that we're going to do. And then, of course, on January 31st, we're like, oh, boo-hoo, maybe next year. Well, temporal landmarks let you restart regularly. I'm a huge fan of Mondays. I just feel like Monday is an amazing day. Every week we get a new Monday, and every week I try to look at it. You know what? Last week is expired. This is a new week. I'm right on. I'm starting fresh. So Mondays is one of them, and he cited a whole bunch of things. I think he said there are 86 temporal landmarks in 1 year that you can use to restart something. So if on January 1st you had to go and that didn't happen, well, perhaps next Monday you can try it again, or the Monday after that, right? And if you don't like starting on Mondays, then you can start on the first of any month, or you can do it on your birthday, right? Or you can do it on your wedding day, your anniversaries. There are all kinds of holidays that you could use. So his tip was basically like, don't get caught up on January 1st being the only time when you can start a new habit. Just pick a landmark and just go with it, which I absolutely love that. And my other applicable strategy is that the most unproductive time of any day is at exactly 2:55. So instead of trying to work at 2:55, just make that part of your afternoon nap, or part of your afternoon snack, or part of your afternoon green break, right? Where you go and look at some trees, go stand in front of some, plant that your coworker may have, and just visit and look at the plant at the same time, and hopefully that'll make you more productive. So that's all I got for this book club. So I am Chris Gra with Organizing Maniacs, and you can find us at organizingmaniacs.com. If you're interested in this awesome report that I spend a lot of time putting together, you can sign up for it on our website at organizingmaniacs.com, and it will come inside of your inbox, and then you get to just enjoy it and have fun with it. I like to wrap up with a quote from Robert Frost. He says, "The afternoon knows what the morning never suspected." I assume he was a night owl. So since I am a morning person, I would say the afternoon knows what the morning never suspected. And that was that the morning ate the afternoon for lunch. So I hope you have a very productive month, and that you take my challenge and action at least one strategy. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye. Thanks.